Hi, my name is Philip and I'm going to show you how to implement the excellent throwing knife into a brand new first-person template using Unreal Engine 5.6. At the end of this tutorial it would look like this, where we have a traditional FPS character setup that can throw a knife at an enemy. We will also implement the follow camera, so we have cool looking scenes like this. Keep in mind that depending on your specific project setup, some things may have to be done differently. If you are in doubt and wish assistance, you can always join our Discord and contact us there. We will be glad to help you and to make sure that everything will work out for you and your specific project. Step 1. Adding the project files. Just click on this fab icon to open up the store, click on the search bar and search for Excellent. And click on the Excellent throwing knife and just click on Add to Project. This will download all the project files including blueprints, meshes, textures and so on. Once this is finished, you can close fab. And as you see, this has added all the folders related to the excellent throwing knife. The excellent throwing knife now appears as a separate folder under your content folder that make up your whole project. Step 2. Adding the component to your character. In this template, the character blueprint is located in the folder first person blueprints, the BP_ first person character. So I open it, and if we look at the components tab up here, we can see that this character is set up for true FPS, but I want to show you how to set up the throwing knife system for a traditional FPS character. I believe that traditional setups just look better and are easier to work with, which is why we have designed the throwing knife system specially for these kind of setups. But of course you can also use it for true FPS projects. The setup will just be specific to your project and how you manage animations. In order to transform this character blueprint into a traditional FPS, all we need to do is to switch up the parents like so. And now let's actually add the throwing knife component by clicking on the green plus icon up here. Search for throwing knife and click on it. This character blueprint now has access to everything related to this component. By the way, you can always open our example first person character to see how we did this setup. Just open the content browser by pressing Ctrl spacebar, go to excellent throwing knife, examples, blueprints and open the first person character. Then open the throwing knife event graph to see the implementation. Keep in mind, you may don't need everything shown here. For example, you definitely don't need everything that is related to third person example, since this is only here because we use this to showcase third person animation inside the demo level. But don't worry, I will show you step by step how to easily transfer most important things from here to your character blueprint. Step 3. Assigning tags on skeleton meshes. We need to assign tags onto these skeleton meshes so the throwing knife component knows which mesh is first person and which one is the third person mesh. Simply click on the first person mesh, go to the detail tab on the right side and search for tags. Click on plus and write FP mesh. Do the same for the third person mesh, but this time you will type in TP mesh. Step 4. Copying the nodes. Before you start copying node for node into your character, let's actually make our lives easier and do some preparation by copying these variables, functions and macros first. Also create a separate window of your character like so and set it up like this to make it easier to copy and paste things. We start by copying the variables, so when we copy functions and macros afterwards, they are already linked. But we won't copy anything that has third person or controls in the name, since they were only made for the demo level. Just click on the first variable and hit Ctrl C, click into your event graph and press Ctrl V. Repeat this for all variables. Now copy all the functions. Just click on the first function, hit Ctrl Z, go to your character and press Ctrl V. By doing it this way, we also copy the implementation of these functions and not just their declaration. Do the same for these two macros. Let's make another preparation by creating a new event graph by pressing on this plus icon right here and name it throwing knife. Now we can simply click into the event graph of our example character, hit Ctrl A, Ctrl C and paste everything into the new character with Ctrl V. The engine will tell you that these three functions or events are missing, but we can just confirm that. That's because we don't actually need create controls widget and on auto throw knives because they were only showcased inside the demo level. Let me dock this blueprint again so we have a better workspace. Step 5. Reconnecting the wires. As you see, some wires are not connected anymore and the reference for the throwing knife component is not working correctly. Let's start by clicking on this reference and hitting Shift Alt R to show all the references inside this blueprint. Just go through this list from top to bottom by double clicking on each entry. Then hold Ctrl and left mouse button, selecting throwing knife component, and let go right on this corner to replace the reference. Just repeat this for all the entries. Let's hit compile so the compiler results takes us to the places we need to adjust. I can click on the first result on macro instance right here, so the engine teleports me to the problem. That was a third person example macro we did not want to copy, so just delete it and reconnect these nodes like so. Reposition the nodes so they look nice and right click onto this function right here and click on refresh nodes. This is now fixed, nice. Let's get back to the throwing knife graph by clicking up here. Delete these third person example nodes and this control function. Just reconnect these like so. In the equip and throw comment box we just have to use the macro following camera twice and connect them using the false output. This prevents the player from throwing another knife while the cinematic follow camera is running. Just get rid of these control inputs that were related to the demo level. In the toggle follow camera comment box use the other macro enter follow camera on throw, so every time we press R we toggle the follow camera on and off for the next throw. And right here we just use another following camera macro and connect it with this function. But we have to refresh them before doing so. Place one here as well. You can link this any damage event up as well if you don't already have one. If the player is damaged, this screen flashes red and refreshes the level after a little delay. Alright, one last thing left to do. Just go into this follow camera collapse graph and just select everything and right click onto a node and click on refresh nodes. If we press compile and save now, everything is resolved. If you run into any complications, just DM us on Discord and we will assist you. If you press play now, it could look like this, where if you press the left mouse button, camera shakes are playing and you actually throw a knife, but you cannot see your arms. Which leads us to step 6, setting up FP anims. This happens because our FP mesh still runs the copy animation blueprint that is used to create a true FPS, where the FP mesh basically just copies all the third person animations and uses several offsets and other techniques to make the arms look somewhat good in a first person view. But since this tutorial shows you how to use it on a traditional FPS character setup, let's just go to our reference character and select its FP mesh and hold shift plus right click onto the anim class to copy what's written in here. Then go to the template character and hold shift plus left click onto the anim class to paste it over. If you have a custom animation blueprint already in place, what it just needs is a default slot connected so it actually plays montages correctly. So if I hit play again, we now see the arms, but it still looks off. This is because the transform values of the camera and the first person mesh are not the same as in our reference character from the demo. But this is an easy fix. Let's go to our reference character and select the camera. Hold shift and right click onto the transform bar to copy it. Then go to our character, select the camera and hold shift and left click onto transform to paste the values over so they now match. And now we just do the same for the first person arms. So now the transform values match for both components. Let's also change the skeletal mesh for our first person mesh by clicking on this drop down menu right here and searching for arms and selecting them. Let me open it to show you why this is important. This mesh already comes with a socket that is aligned in a way where the animations look good when we attach a newly spawned throwing knife into it. If you want to use your own mesh or skeleton, you will need to add a new socket. You could name it throwing knife socket and copy paste these values over to your socket. But remember to select the throwing knife component in your character, go to the configs, setup and type in the socket name you want to use for your new knife socket. By the way, you also have some useful variables in the throwing settings to quickly change the throwing knife physics as well as access to animations and camera shakes. You could switch montages or change the play rates, and you can increase or decrease camera shake intensities or by simply opening the camera shack directly, where you will have even more in-depth customization available. Step 7. Hit markers. Let's hit play again, and as you see, it now looks exactly like in the demo you have played. But I want to throw at an enemy because I can show you how to trigger hit markers and how to set up collisions. So let's place this enemy into the level. If I hit play and throw a knife onto him, there is no hit marker yet. If I press escape to end the game, we get an error message saying that there was no hit marker component found. I would just click onto on trigger hit marker to have a look at how it is implemented. It is called inside of the BP throwing knife class every time this sphere right here overlaps with an enemy. Whenever this knife applies damage, it also triggers a hit marker by searching for a hit marker component in the instigator, our player character. The implementation looks like this. So this is the hit marker component, and to implement it, all we have to do is to add it to our character like so. So if I now test it again, a hit marker is triggered every time I hit an enemy with the knife. And it also turns red if it was a headshot. Step 8. Setting up third-person animations. If we look at the shadow on the ground, we will see that there's no third-person knife animation playing right now. To change this, let's select our third-person mesh and open its animation blueprint like so, and then click on Atom Graph, which you can also open from here. And what we need to add here is another slot that is called upper arms, because the knife component uses that slot to tell the animation blueprint when to play the montage. Let's open the animation blueprint of our reference character, and here we are using a layered blend per bone function to only play the montage on the upper body. So the lower body keeps playing animations like running and walking, and here's our upper body slot. Keep in mind though, this is only the name of the slot. It actually has nothing to do with functionality. The name just helps you to organize slots better. So simply select these nodes and copy them into your character like so. The output pose is the final animation that is going to be played, and this full body is just a cache pose that we can call elsewhere in the graph for better modularity. And we actually do it down here. That's basically it. If I test again, we see through our shadow that the animations are playing correctly. But I like to mention that there is no aim offset implemented, because we have seen that a lot of people already use procedural or additive aim offsets in the project. So we left that out in order to keep this project clean. Extra information: collisions. Let me give you a brief explanation about how the collisions have to be set up so the knife detects enemy hits. If I go to the throwing knife blueprint, it's this sphere that registers all the collisions. So right here in the knife collision detection graph, you will see that we use blocking hits for surfaces and overlaps to detect characters. That's why apply damage is found after the overlap event. If I click on this sphere to see its details, you will see that the object type is a projectile, and if I go to the enemy and click on its mesh, you see that the object type in this case is a physics body. This means our sphere has to be set to overlap all physics bodies. Result: if you followed all the steps, it should look exactly like in a free-to-play demo where camera shakes are playing, you have all animations in place, hit markers are triggered when hitting an enemy, you can switch knives by pressing 1 or 2 on your keyboard, and by pressing R you can toggle the follow camera on and off for nice looking cinematic throws. I hope this video helped you to implement the excellent throwing knife into your project, but feel free to comment any questions or suggestions down in the comments. Also, you can message us via Discord if you wish personal support. We are looking forward in hearing from you. Thank you for watching. Embrace excellence.